Okay there. So I'm going to do one more uh, problem with implicit differentiation for now, at least, unless you guys request more. This one's going to have a trig function in it. So I'm going to, again, do section 3.8. This is going to be on page 317. And the number I'm going to do for you is number 307. So this involves a few things. We start with y and then sine of the quantity xy, and that equals y squared plus 2. So this has a couple different things involved. Mostly the problem is this left side. So we have a product of two things. We have y and then sine of a function there. And then when we do the chain rule for that part, there's going to be another product rule involved as well. So let's give it a shot here. So our first is y. Our derivative of the second, derivative of sine is cosine. So it's cosine of the whole thing. Then we're multiplying that by the derivative of this part here. So the derivative of xy is going to be a product rule. Derivative of xy is going to be the first is x, derivative of the second is y prime, plus the second times derivative of the first is 1. So that's, again, only half of our product rule. We've only done the first times derivative of the second. So we're going to add that to the second times derivative of the first, which is a y prime. And the right side of the equation is not too bad. The first one, of course, is just 2y prime. Well, 2y and then y prime, excuse me. Let's clean that up. 2 times y and then y prime. And then plus r0 for the 2. So as in the previous problems, we need to isolate the y prime. I'm going to distribute this here and leave the appropriate part. So I have y prime times xy cosine of quantity xy. That's our first distribution there. Our next one is going to be y squared cosine quantity xy. I'm going to leave this on the side. And actually, let's move this other bit over. So I'm going to subtract a 2y prime from each side. All right, so the part that doesn't have a y prime involved with it is this part here. So I'm going to subtract this from each side. Scroll down a little bit. All right. So these three parts, the other three parts are going to be left here. I'm going to subtract a y squared cosine of xy. I'm going to factor out the y prime so that I can divide by the big mess that's going to be left. All right, and then I divide by all of this. So I'm left with y prime equals negative y squared cosine quantity xy over all of that. So I'll just write that. Where'd my phone? All right, and that is the conclusion of this problem.